What if the story that you're trying to rewrite was never really yours in the first place? What if it was handed to you before you knew how to refuse it? And what if the life you're living right now is the survival story that you created around it just so you can survive? Hey, I'm Richard, and welcome to the Walk-In Transformation Podcast. This is where faith meets real life, not the social media version, but the real life that you live every day. By the end of this episode, I promise you that you'll begin to recognize the story that was handed to you and the survival story you built around it, how it may be keeping you trapped in a life that God never meant for you to call home. Now, I get it. You've been trying to change your habits, your life, your mindset, your reactions, your confidence. You've been trying to increase that. You've been trying to make better choices, but you find yourself still getting pulled back into the same old version of yourself with the same old habits. Don't worry. You're in the right place. And here's the good news. You're not stuck because you're weak or broken. That's the good news. But you may be stuck because you're still living inside of a story that, like I said in the beginning, was never yours in the first place. Now, a story can become like a house, okay? First, you don't even realize that you're living inside of it. You build that story and you move in and it becomes home, and you make decisions there. You pray there. You love people there. You raise children there. You build a career there. You serve there. You sacrifice there. You survive there. Then one day you look around and you realize, you know what? This house was built on the back of a fictional character that I created just to help me survive. So the question becomes this. When you make that realization, you ask yourself now, is this still a home, or has it become my comfortable prison? Now, what's the context that I'm speaking in? I'm not talking about the house. I'm talking about the story. Has your story become something that is now your default? Has your story become truth, no matter what it is? Because 95% of the stories that we tell about ourselves, according to scientific research, become true. So here's the thing. It may be a very comfortable prison, but some prisons don't look ugly from the outside either. Some prisons look like strength, responsibility, dependability. Some look like sacrifice and success. Some prisons look like achievement, loyalty, productivity, being easy to count on, and get this, some look like being the one who never needs anything. The most dangerous prisons are the ones that people clap for, because nobody's going to be calling a prison when everyone is clapping for you if you're in it. Now, if people praised you for being strong, you just may have mistaken strength for identity. If they praised you for being selfless, you may have mistaken your self-abandonment for love. Now, if people praised you for being dependable, you may have mistaken exhaustion for responsibility. But you were praised, I can tell you this much, for surviving. Only now God may be calling you out of survival to reclaim your true identity. You know, that one that's been buried for years, maybe even decades. Because your true identity is not a survivor. Your true identity is a thriver. You're thriving when you're walking in your true identity. So I want you to ask yourself this. What story have I been calling normal? What story just seems like it's who I am? And then I want you to complete this sentence. I've always believed that I had to be blank in order to be accepted. Not a self-judgment or anything like that. Just a quick question. And here are a couple of answers that might help you out. Strong, useful, quiet, available. That was me, always available. Successful, unbreakable, easy to deal with. That was me too. The fixer, the helper, the provider, or the one who keeps the peace. Man, that's me in a nutshell. Now, I want you to also ask yourself after that, is that really who I am? Or is that who the house that I learned to live in made me? Serious question. Think about that for a second. Now, the question is not, how do I rewrite everything today? We're not getting out here to do, just absurd, obscene amounts of work on ourselves on the inside, because that's going to make you go grab a milkshake or some popcorn or a burger and forget about this podcast. The first question is, what story have I been calling home when it may have actually been a prison? Now, that's an even bigger question. The person that you became was not random. You did not become this version of yourself by accident. This was a response, and at some point, you became what the story required you to be. You became what people praised. You became what kept you safe and helped you avoid rejection, criticism, and shame, because we don't want that. You became the strong one, the dependable one, the I can fix it one. But hear me, that was not rebellion. That was adaptation. That was not from a place of broken. That was a place of adaptation that you got into. You did not become this version of yourself because something was wrong with you. Get that. You became this version because people around you taught you or gave you instructions on who you had to be. The story you created to survive was not created because you were broken. It was created because you were trying to figure out how to make your life work and how to make it work without the pain. The thing that helped you to survive in one season can become the very thing that suffocates you in another. I need you to get that too. Now, of course, it might not be your fault, but the patterns may still be your patterns, or the patterns are still your patterns. Now, I want you to ask yourself now, what did I become to survive what I was handed? Because, the identity that you were given, the identity that was put on you, most of it is not the identity that you would have just evolved into. But again, adaptation, you adapted. Now complete this sentence. To survive, I became the one who, and here's a few answers possibly for you, never asked for help. I became the one that kept the peace. I became the one that always fixed everything, stayed strong, performed well, made everyone else feel okay, did not need much. That was me. Carried everything, stayed quiet, looked successful. Never let people see the real pain. I don't even have to say it because you already know. Now, ask yourself this after, considering and pondering that. Is this who God created me to be? Or is this who I had to become, in my opinion, to survive? This is where the episode turns. Not into hype, not into quick fix. This is where it turns into truth. The story did its job for a season. That story had a job. That story had a huge job. And it was a job that you gave the job description for. You created the job description for that story. Now, here's something even bigger than that. That story required a leading character. And it couldn't have been you who you authentically were, because, let's just be real, you were dealing with, am I good enough? You were dealing with, am I enough? Am I tall enough? Am I good looking enough? Do I speak well enough? You were dealing with a whole bunch of am I enoughs. So, you created a fictional character that actually served a real purpose too, because that fictional character was built and created to help you survive. That character helped you function. That character helped you stay safe. That character helped you feel and be accepted. That character helped people be proud of you. We call it many different things. We call it put it on the mask. We call it the persona. It's a fictional character that you created. And it was a character that was birthed by you. So it wasn't a horrible character. It was a character that was doing its job, which was trying to make you happy. But here's the thing about that. That character was never supposed to become your calling. The story was never supposed to become your permanent address. You can be grateful for the version of you, that character, that survived and still refused to let that fictional character lead the rest of your life, because it's not meant to lead. But I really want you to get this. I want you to have a conversation with this fictional character that you created. That really takes some serious guts. First, it takes the awareness that that fictional character has become the default. Then it takes the guts to, instead of looking at this character with judgment, to look at that fictional character with love. It had one job: to protect you. And it did its very, very best. You recognize that fictional character, you pull it in for a hug, you tell it, I love you, thank you for everything that you did for me. You did it as well as you could. But now I can give you permission to leave because you no longer serve me. Now, I know that a lot of you are saying, dude, I'm not living from a fictional character, or I don't have a fictional character, or how am I supposed to step away from who I've been? How? It's a process. It is definitely a process. So don't worry about that. Now, like I said, you can still be grateful for that character, but not let that character lead the rest of your life. Now, the next chapter is not about becoming who they said you should be. It's not about becoming who you think or thought you should be. It's not about that fictional character. It's about reclaiming the person that God knew before the story was handed to you. Because you are going to give that fictional character the permission to retire. Before they told you who to become, God already knew who you were. Before they called you strong, God knew you. Before they called you helpful, God knew you. Before they called you difficult, too much, not enough, responsible, irresponsible, dependable, emotional, weak, successful, or unbreakable, yeah, God knew you. Now, this is not about religion at all, so I want you to step away from that. This is about identity. Before the story was placed on your life, before an identity was assigned to you by the people around you, God saw the real person underneath it, because you are the one that He created. And that person is still there. It's not gone. He's not gone. She's not gone. They're not dead. So the next chapter can be about the one where you stop living as the fictional character that you created to protect yourself and start walking as the person that God created you to be, walking in your true identity, not who pain told you to become, not the performer survival trained you to be. It's about you being called forward to be who God created you to be the whole time. Okay? I want you to also ask yourself, and these are just small micro exercises that I'm giving you because I'm not going to burden you with a whole bunch of stuff. These are things that you can do in the peace and solitude of your room and in a few minutes. But ask yourself this: who is the real me beneath the story that I have been protecting? And you heard me right, protecting, because we fight tooth and nail to protect our stories. But complete this sentence also. If I stopped performing the story, I believe the real me would begin to rest, speak. I believe the real me would begin to create, dream, trust, receive, set boundaries, laugh again. I believe the real me will begin to walk with God differently. Stop apologizing for existing. Ask for help. Tell the truth. Choose peace without disappearing. And here's the one. I believe the real me would begin to love without losing myself. Now then I want you to ask, what is one small way that I can honor that person today? What's one small way that I can honor that person today? Not change everything, not fix everything. Just one small way. Because you don't have to change everything today. You don't have to fix everything today. Get that out of your mind, okay? Romans chapter 12, verse 2 talks about being transformed by the renewing of your mind. And again, it's not religion, and this is not just about thinking positive thoughts. That verse is not just about thinking positive thoughts. Sometimes renewing your mind means letting God reveal the story that you've been living from, so truth can separate your identity from your survival. Now, John chapter 8, verse 32 says, the truth will make you free. But truth cannot free what we refuse to identify or name. So today, we are naming the story because the story is the reason that you are not free. Not shame. We're not going to shame you. We're not going to blame you. We're not going to make you feel like you should have known better. But we're doing this so that you can stop calling that story your identity, because it is not. It is not. Once again, I'm Richard, and if you're still here with me, then that means something really resonated with you in this episode up to this point. So I want to give you a quick recap. I'm not going to just get into everything, but if you're watching this on YouTube, put in the comments what stood out to you. And wherever you're listening to this podcast, share this episode with someone who they just may need a little clarity too. But I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. Remember these 3 questions, okay? This is the recap. What story were you handed before you knew how to refuse it? What did you become in order to survive that story? And who is the person underneath it that God is inviting you to reclaim? And then I want you to just say to yourself simply, today, I'm not rewriting the whole story. Nothing even close. I'm just naming it. Because once you name the story, you can stop calling it your identity. And once you stop calling it your identity, you may begin to see something else, something magnificent. You may begin to see a glimpse of your real, true, God-given identity. Now, in the next episode, we're going to talk about the door you've been afraid to walk through. That's right, the door you've been afraid to walk through. Because once you name the story, the next question becomes, are you willing to walk out of it? And I think you are. So never forget that you have always mattered. You have always been good enough. You are and have always been worthy. And it is never too late to transform your life on purpose.